if we get a pro-crypto favorable administration, I think that we've had a very, very bad administration for crypto in the last 4 years. Gary Gensler, the Democrats, Elizabeth Warren, the anti-crypto army. I think that a change in administration, and specifically if we get Trump with all his promises, bringing Bitcoin back to the US, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, so China doesn't get it, I think that is very, very, very good for Bitcoin. This is the trade of Bitcoin versus the NASDAQ. Now, Bitcoin is usually extremely correlated with the NASDAQ. What you'll know about the NASDAQ is that the NASDAQ is currently at all-time highs. Gold is currently at all-time highs, well, just under all-time highs. The NASDAQ is currently at all-time highs. And if you look at Bitcoin, Bitcoin is under its all-time high. Now, what we know from all previous cycles is that Bitcoin is actually the one to overperform on the ups and to obviously underperform on the downs.
Lead anchor and editor-in-chief at Kitco News, Michelle McQuarrie, interviewed Neuner, founder and host of Crypto Banter, about Bitcoin's potential under a Trump administration and how Ethereum ETFs could affect Ethereum's price. Neuner shared his insights on key drivers for Bitcoin's growth leading up to the elections, identifying three main factors: a pro-crypto administration, a rate cut cycle, and the catch-up trade. Firstly, Neuner believes that a Trump administration would benefit Bitcoin, given Trump's promises to bring Bitcoin back to the US and his criticism of the current administration's stance on crypto. Secondly, he highlighted the upcoming rate cut cycle, citing a tweet by Dan Tapiero suggesting it could be one of the largest in history. Neuner notes that rate cut periods and increased liquidity benefit assets like gold and Bitcoin. Thirdly, he discussed the catch-up trade, referring to Bitcoin's lagging performance compared to the NASDAQ and gold. He attributes this lag to unnatural market forces, such as forced sellers, but believes that once these forces dissipate, Bitcoin will experience a significant catch-up trade. Neuner also noted that the technical and fundamental factors seem to be aligning in favor of Bitcoin, maintaining his bullish outlook on Bitcoin and crypto in general. Before we continue with the rest of the video, do check out daily 5-minute crypto newsletter with all the latest crypto and Bitcoin news. It's a fantastic analysis of on-chain crypto data and breakdowns, and the best part is it's absolutely free. They'll cover expert predictions, breakdowns of on-chain crypto data, and any breaking news you need to know, all in a nutshell. Click the first link in the description and enter your email to join over 50,000 others in becoming a better crypto investor right now.
I think that there's three things that can really power Bitcoin going forward. First one, Trump administration. If we get a pro-crypto favorable administration, I think that we've had a very, very bad administration for crypto in the last 4 years. Gary Gensler, the Democrats, Elizabeth Warren, the anti-crypto army. I think that a change in administration, and specifically if we get Trump with all his promises, bringing Bitcoin back to the US, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, so China doesn't get it, I think that is very, very, very good for Bitcoin. The second thing that's very good for Bitcoin is, I'm going to show you a tweet because I just love the way that this guy words it. His name is Van Spencer, and he said, if you lived another 100 years, you might not see a larger rate cut cycle, the likes of which we are about to see. We're working with 525 basis points of pure Americana. And I think that a lot of people have forgotten that we're going into a rate cut cycle now. Now, Trump has warned Jerome Powell, and he said to Jerome Powell, he warned Jerome Powell not, he says, Trump says he'll allow Jerome Powell to complete his term at the central bank if he won the November election, but warns him not to cut rates until after the elections. Okay, now I'm not sure Jerome Powell's going to listen, but it is a reminder for us that we're going into rate cut periods and we're going into increased liquidity periods. And when we get into rate cut periods and increased liquidity periods, things like gold and things like risk assets and Bitcoin do exceptionally well. The third reason is what I call the catch-up trade. Now, what is the catch-up trade? This is the trade of Bitcoin versus the NASDAQ. Now, Bitcoin is usually extremely correlated with the NASDAQ. What you'll know about the NASDAQ is that the NASDAQ is currently at all-time highs. Gold is currently at all-time highs, well, just under all-time highs. The NASDAQ is currently at all-time highs. And if you look at Bitcoin, Bitcoin is under its all-time high. Now, what we know from all previous cycles is that Bitcoin is actually the one to overperform on the ups and to obviously underperform on the downs. And in this cycle, specifically because of unnatural forces on the market, and when I say unnatural forces, a forced seller in the German government, a forced seller in the Mt. Gox coins, biggest seller of Bitcoin of all time, or biggest forced seller of Bitcoin of all time, have been in the markets and have suppressed or have increased the supply and therefore suppressed the price of Bitcoin. But those things are temporary and they're going to pass very soon. And when they do, you'll probably get the biggest catch-up trade that we've ever seen, because Bitcoin has to catch up to gold and has to catch up to the NASDAQ, which have been breaking all-time highs for long periods of time. And so I think when you combine increased liquidity with a Trump regime or a pro-crypto regime, if we get one, and then you say Bitcoin has also been lagging because of artificial supply dynamics, I think when you combine all of those things and you say to yourself, okay, where does this asset go next? I think we could be in for a very, very, very good end of year, which is, again, not dissimilar to what happens in every other Bitcoin cycle. Every other Bitcoin cycle, we have the sideways chop, and then we have a very, very, very aggressive bull run. And you can kind of see that the bull run starts here on the 26th of October, which is, that's 2 months from now or whatever it is. It's from a timing point of view, it's almost uncanny when this happens. And I'll even take you through to the previous halving, which you can kind of see over here. And you can kind of see where the bull markets actually started. Again, very, very, very similar time and very, very, very similar shape. So, it all seems to be playing out by the book. The technicals are showing you one thing. The fundamentals seem to be backing that one thing. We don't know what we don't know. But with all of these assumptions, I can't help but be bullish on Bitcoin and crypto as an asset class.
The introduction of Ethereum ETFs, according to Rand Neuner, is an incredible milestone and a major turning point for the investment community. Neuner considers Ethereum an amazing token and network with a compelling technological story. While Bitcoin is often seen as a store of value, Ethereum is viewed as a technological play, attracting a different type of investor. Neuner believes Ethereum is poised to become the backbone of the developing market and play a significant role in tokenizing real-world assets. However, Neuner highlighted a potential obstacle: the Ethereum Trust, which has an annual management fee of 2.55% and holds $11 billion worth of Ethereum. He considers this fee to be ludicrous, especially given Ethereum's lack of supply overhangs compared to Bitcoin. Neuner surmised that investors would sell out of the trust and transfer their holdings to less expensive ETFs. This shift could exert downward pressure on Ethereum's price, creating a generational buying opportunity. Neuner acknowledged that while the successful introduction of the Bitcoin ETF left a large gap to be filled, he also predicted that Ethereum might see a minor decline before starting a multi-year boom. Let's return to the interview to watch more clips and gain further insights from Rand Neuner.
The ETH ETF is absolutely incredible. It is, the fact that we now have a second crypto asset that's accepted by the investment community and allowing them to invest in it is amazing. I think ETH is an amazing token, an amazing network. It's an amazing technology. And I think that the narrative around ETH, which is number one, Bitcoin is a store of value, and store of value has a certain investor. ETH is seen as a technology, and technology has a different kind of investor. And so I think it's great that we have a new technological investment around cryptocurrency, which is Ethereum. So I think in the long term, it's going to be amazing. I think in the long term, Ethereum is going to serve as the backbone for real world asset tokenization, which Larry Fink has been extremely, extremely vocal about. And I think that's going to play a massive role in the adoption and in the demand for the ETH asset. But there is one headwind along the way. That headwind, I'm trying to find, see if I've got a chart for you. Here it is. There is a trust called ETH. ETH is very similar to the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust, which is called GBTC. Now, what is this? It's a trust that has 2.93 million Ethereum, which is about $11 billion worth of Ethereum at these prices. And up until now, you were not able to redeem the trust because it's not an ETF, it's a trust, and there's no redemption mechanism in the trust. Very similar to the GBTC story, Grayscale Bitcoin Trust story. Now, the ETH Trust has $11 billion worth of ETH, and they've come to the market at a launch fee of 2.5% per annum. So, I don't know how much you know about investment products, but 2.5% per annum as a management fee is absolutely, absolutely ludicrous. And so what we speculate may happen is as the ETF actually goes live, people are going to sell out of the converted ETH Trust, which is going to become an ETF. They're going to sell out of that ETF, and those sales are going to hit the market, and they're going to dump the price of ETH. And then they may buy back into one of the cheaper ETFs. And so by virtue of the selling we're going to get supply pressure on the market, and that might actually push the price of ETH down in the beginning. If it does that, chances are the Bitcoin price will also come down, because we know when the two assets get hit hard, it's like you're talking about the two biggest crypto assets, and those have market implications. What I do say to anyone who's watching this is that if we do get the sell-off and ETH does go under $3,000 a coin, I think that would be a generational buying opportunity. And the reason why I say it would be a generational buying opportunity is very simple. Unlike Bitcoin, Ethereum doesn't have supply overhangs. There are no government-seized coins. There are no US government, German government. There are no coins which are being held as Mt. Gox coins from hacked exchanges. And so you're not going to get many other opportunities to buy Ethereum with an unnatural supply overhang. This is the only unnatural supply overhang in the entire ETH market. So what we've done as a fund is we're watching the ETH options very, very closely. Because if the price of ETH goes down, then we're going to take a very long position in ETH options. We've already started taking long positions in ETH options, but we're probably going to wait for a dip on the day of the launch or thereafter. The other thing is, remember that when the Bitcoin ETF launched, there was no frame of reference. And so we didn't know what was going to be a good inflow or a good outflow. We now know that it's the highest inflow ETF of all time ever. But the problem is that ETH has got big boots to fill. And to track against the launch of Bitcoin, which is now going to be the frame of reference for a cryptocurrency ETF, unfortunately, I think ETH can only disappoint. And so what I'm expecting with ETH is I'm expecting a slight dip before a very, very long multi-year uptrend. And I think that if you can catch this little dip when it happens, I think that may be another Coinbase scenario. And again, the last time I came here, Coinbase was $40. And I'll quickly just get us a live price, but I think today it's way, way, way over $200. It's at $250.
Meanwhile, following reports of a possible Trump announcement, Bitcoin's price spike began to decline. Nevertheless, wealthy investors like Elon Musk and Mark Cuban project positive outcomes. Musk issued a dire warning about the US dollar's impending demise due to the country's escalating $35 trillion debt level, which he believes could lead to hyperinflation. He uploaded a picture on X suggesting that the US was on the brink of hyperinflation and bankruptcy. A recent analysis by the Congressional Budget Office projects that US debt interest payments will total $870 billion this year. This results from runaway inflation, which forced the Federal Reserve to raise interest rates following unprecedented money creation and spending during the COVID era. Analysts at Bank of America have also issued warnings, stating that the US debt load is increasing by $1 trillion every 100 days, driving up the price of Bitcoin due to the US dollar's decline. They anticipate that spot Bitcoin ETFs will have a blowout year. Michael Hartnett, chief strategist at Bank of America, noted that it's not surprising that debt debasement trades like gold and Bitcoin are approaching all-time highs. Musk's remarks have brought scrutiny to Trump's potential impact on Bitcoin. Some traders believe that if Trump wins, the regulatory environment for Bitcoin will become more favorable. Sean McNulty, director of trading at Arbella Markets, commented that Bitcoin is now a proxy for a Trump victory. As we conclude, what are your thoughts on this interview? Can Ethereum's ETFs favor the long-term boom of Ethereum? What do you think about the expected bull market? Please share your thoughts in the comments below. For more Daily Dose Crypto news, check out these two awesome videos on your screen. Click now and we will see you on the next video.